So, what's special about this workflow is that now, when you get at a topic or a keyword, instead of jumping right in and making a plan and figuring out how to write, it will first do some initial research, a basic preliminary research, right? And from this initial research, it will then come up with a plan for how it's going to write the article, the introduction, the body, and the conclusion, what content should be included in each part. So, from that initial research and the plan for writing this article, now it breaks things down into smaller subtopics. Subtopic 1, Subtopic 2, Subtopic 3. And for each of these subtopics, it also doesn't just send them straight to an AI node, to an AI model to write, but it continues to do research for each of these subtopics. And after the research is done and results come back, once it has the research information, then it will rely on those research findings to write the content for that chapter. Alright, now I'll run this workflow. Let's test this workflow. And the important thing is that all of this content can be written about the latest events, the most up-to-date information, topics that are time-sensitive. You guys, and all the content isn't just made up, it actually does research first, and only then does it rely on the information it has researched to write these kinds of articles, like this, okay? This is the Drive folder, where it stores all the files it just created. We have the stock file and for image files, one of which is the cover image, the main cover for the whole article, then the other 3 images are illustrations for each chapter. The images are saved in a resolution mode at the highest quality after it's created. And here is the file, this stock file, which I set up to save in Markdown format. But if you don't like that, you can also have it save in HTML format. These are the models you can swap out. There's Sonnet Deep Research, Sonnet Reasoning Pro, Sonnet Reasoning, Sonnet Pro, Sonnet, and our 11776, this one is DeepSeek Reasoning. This is the version hosted publicly in the US. Anyway, these are the models you can use. Last tip for pros is human interlude. I will have a step where I can participate. I can input, I can intervene, I can step into this workflow. So, the human interlude is a new feature that was recently launched, n8n. For example, if you click on this plus button, you'll see an option called Human Interlude right here, and it can wait to get human approval before it continues with this workflow. These are built-in features already integrated. The interesting part is that I'll be collaborating with experts to optimize and upgrade the templates based on expert insights to elevate the templates that I produce to a whole new level. For example, with this n8n WordPress Blog Automation Pro for SEO template, there have already been 2 experts who reached out to me. One expert is Vietnamese, and the other is a foreigner, to propose a collaboration and improve this template to make it even more optimized for SEO. So I'm really excited, because when I get more insights from experts in a specific domain, then I'll compile those insights into the workflow and the template. Then I believe that the templates that I create will be even more powerful and will deliver even more impressive results. Hello, hi everyone. I'm Mint and I'm back again. In this video, I'll demo for you an n8n workflow template, which I temporarily named WordPress Blog Automation Pro, with Deep Research v1-inch. So this is a template for n8n. I actually finished it on February 26th. That's 2025, not 2024. Oops, I made a mistake. I think it's been about a week since I finished it, but it's only today that I'm making a video to share it with everyone. Actually, this template has already been available on my website, both the Vietnamese and English versions. But since I haven't promoted it, and there wasn't this video yet, so you guys didn't know about it. So, what's special about this WordPress Blog Automation Pro with Deep Research workflow? What can it do? Here, I've already prepared some slides, so I'll switch over to the slides now. To summarize, with this workflow, you just need to enter a topic, and the workflow will search for and research the latest information on that topic. After that, it will automatically create and publish SEO-optimized blog posts to your WordPress website. In addition, it will generate images for each section and a cover image for the entire article. At the same time, it will collect internal links from your website and seamlessly insert them into each section and throughout the whole article. Finally, it will save all the content and images into a designated folder on Google Drive. You could say this is a variation of the version Blog Automation Pro SEO topic that I introduced in a previous video of mine. But the difference with this workflow is that it has an added online research feature and deep research. So I also have a few diagrams too, to conveniently compare the differences between the workflows. SEO topic v.2 and this deep research v.1. Basically, the core flow is that you'll provide a keyword. Then you send this keyword to an AI node to generate the structure. The plan for writing this blog post, it will plan out the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. Then, in the body section, it will break things down into a few subtopics. For example, here I'm illustrating with 3 topics. So for each of these topics, it will continue to send them to an AI node to write each chapter for those topics. So however many subtopics you have, it will write that many chapters. And finally, it will combine with the image creation part, the part for inserting internal links, to form a complete final article, and it will save it on Google Drive. So, this deep research workflow variant has an added research feature. This workflow has a special point, which is now, when you get at a topic, a keyword, instead of jumping right in and planning how to write, it will do some initial research as a preliminary step. And from this preliminary research, it will then create a plan for how it will write the article, what the introduction, body, and conclusion should include, so that from the initial research and the plan to write this article, now it breaks it down into smaller subtopics. Subtopic 1, Subtopic 2, Subtopic 3. And for each of these subtopics, it also doesn't just send them straight to an AI node, an AI model, to write, but instead, it continues to do research for each of these subtopics. And after the research is done and results come back with the research information, once the research is done, it then uses this research information to write the content for that chapter, Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3. Then after that, it compiles everything together with images and links into the final article and saves all the content, images, and links on your Google Drive. So this is exactly the difference. And the special thing about this workflow compared to the previous workflow. As for how this workflow operates, I also have a very complete and detailed slide here, but I won't read it. Now, instead of reading this slide, I will just demo this workflow for you to see. Okay? Now I'll switch over to n8n. I'll zoom in so you can see. Here, I've already copied it to a new version. So in the workflow that you download, its activation, its trigger, will be adding a new row to this Google Sheet file. But here, I'm going to trigger it manually. The activation button will be manual activation, and this settings section, just like the demo of the workflow. For blog automation, for SEO topics, I've already filled in the information into these fields. The website is still my personal website, dipawin.cc. As for the topic, just yesterday the Oscars 2025 were announced. And since I'm a movie fan, I'm going to choose to write about this topic right away. The target audience, of course, is cinema fans. For a max word count, I haven't filled it in yet, but I'll set it. For example, at 2,000 words. The number of chapters one want to have can be however many I like, because with this workflow, it will write chapter by chapter, so I can write as many chapters as I want. But here, just to demo quickly, I'll temporarily set it to 3 chapters. The length of the introduction, the length of the conclusion, the style. I like it to be written in a fun way. As for the category ID, in the previous video I already showed how to get this ID. Here, the ID that I'll use to publish these demo blog posts is 403, and on my website, that's the category, the tutorial category, the CTA URL, and the company introduction, or product introduction. I've already copy-pasted them in here. Okay, now I'll run this workflow. Test this workflow. Alright, here there's a step for it to check. Then, it will move to the first button, Initial Research, which means Preliminary Research, Initial Research. I think I explained this in the diagram just now. So this is the first step, where it will do some initial research first. And from this initial research, it will then move to another node, The next AI node to plan how it will write this. Blog post. In this planning section, in the planning phase, it will write the introduction, the conclusion, and for the body, it will select the sub-topics to write about in more detail, turning them into individual chapters. Here, I also added another node, which is for checking. In case, sometimes when I run this node, it encounters an error. Yeah, a few of you have also given me feedback that, occasionally when you run it, it fails, and doesn't return any results. So this is an extra node to check, that its output is not empty, not blank. If it's empty, then it will rerun this node, until it gets a result. Only when true, continue running. Alright, the remaining steps are pretty similar to the SEO workflow. The only difference is that now there will be chapters. There will be subtopics. So from these subtopics, instead of writing right away, it will push to a research step. I forgot about this part. I still have this content pinned. So now I need to unpin it. It pushes to research, meaning it will search for information about that subtopic. Then, based on the search results, it will write for each chapter. Here I have 3 chapters. So it will run this loop 3 times. That's the main part of this workflow. Down here, it's just generating images. It creates an image for each chapter and saves them to my Drive folder. It's still running. This image generation part also takes a bit of time. Here, I'm writing 3 chapters, so it will generate 3 images. Alright, after writing each chapter and generating images for each chapter, it will then compile the post. It combines the introduction, body, and images, and creates the final article. Then it will publish it to WordPress. Here, I set it to publish immediately instead of keeping it as a draft. After publishing, once it has the post ID on the website, then it creates the thumbnail image, the cover image for that post. After that, it assigns that cover image to the draft post that I had created. Then there are a few more minor steps. Finally, it saves all the content, the final article, into a doc file, creates a doc file, and then saves it to Drive. And here is the final result. A new blog post has been created and published at this link address. In addition, all the materials, the content, images, and the article have also been saved to a Drive file. So now I'll open this up for you to see. Yeah, it's a bit exciting, because I haven't seen this post yet either. This is the first time I'm seeing this post, so I don't really know what to expect either. Alright, okay, so here's the thumbnail image and its title is Oscar 2025. Lighting, camera, and the unpredictable things. And the unforeseen predictions. Or maybe the surprises, right? So, this is the introduction section. Alright, chapter 1 here. There are going to be 3 chapters, alright. Honora's triumph, a night of independent spirit and resilience. So suddenly, this kind of accidentally spoils the result. For those of you who haven't watched the Oscars yet, right? Sorry, guys. So, here it is, the first chapter, and it's written quite long. Next is chapter 2, Fashion Forward at the Oscars 2025, a night of bold statements and style. Chapter 2 talks about fashion again, which means I didn't really specify in my topic how it would be written, so it just picked out 3 topics to write about. Alright, the final topic is unforgettable performances and memorable tributes. Which are the performances that are unforgettable and the memorable tributes? Each of these chapters is written at great length, and all the content it writes in each chapter isn't just based on AI, but also relies on research. The information it researches for each of these subtopics to write them out. Alright, and finally, there's the conclusion. So it's just like the previous workflow. That's all. This is the result of this workflow. As I mentioned, its special feature is that it adds a research or deep research capability. If you want deep research, you'll have to select the model again, okay? By default, the model I use is just the regular search, the fastest and cheapest search. But if you want, you can also change the search model to deep research. But I think that regular search, it already gives a result. That's pretty good. And the important thing is that all of this content can be written about the latest events, the newest information, topics that are time sensitive, you know. And all the content isn't just made up. It's actually researched first. So it's based on the information it finds through research to write articles like this. Alright, now I'll switch over to the Drive folder. This is the Drive folder, where it stores all the files it just created. We have the stock file and 4 image files, one of which is the cover image, the main cover for the whole article, and the other 3 are 3 illustrations for each chapter. The images are saved at the highest resolution. After it is create And here is the stock file. I am setting up the stock file to save it in Markdown format. But if you don't like it, then you can also leave it saved in HTML format. This article is quite long, about 5 pages. 4.5 pages. That's the content. Will the image files be automatically saved to Drive like this? That's right. When I tested it, it seemed like the file creation feature for DOC files only works with personal Drive accounts or something. But when I tried it with a shared drive, I created using a Google Workspace business account and shared it with other people. There was some kind of error and it couldn't create the file DOC in those shared drives. So you guys can try it out and let me know if that's really the case, okay? Because this workflow is pretty complicated. I can't really explain each node one by one, so in this video, I'll just go into the nodes that use AI models, okay? So the first node is initial research, which means preliminary research, the initial research. Now I'll open this node up for you to see. What's the purpose of this node? The purpose of this node is that it has to return a result in a certain structure, which includes fields like topic. The main topic is the topic we give it, which is Oscar 2025, and then a field called research overview. And after it does the research, it has to return an overview. This part is really important, so we can feed it into the next node. It has to be based on this research overview to come up with a plan for how it will write that blog post. So the introduction, the body, and the conclusion are also very important. The subtopics that it will write in the article, if I tell it how many sections to write, then it will find that many subtopics. It comes up with 3 subtopics, and it will write them as 3 sections in the article. This is the first subtopic section, the second subtopic, and the third subtopic. So this is the initial research node. After getting the initial research results, it will provide that result to the next AI node, which is the blog planner. I'll open it up over here. So this is the output from the previous node, which will now be the input for this node, based on the research results. And the subtopics, this AI node, will have to produce a result, which is a JSON file with fields like these, quite a lot of fields. It will have the title of the article, then the subtitle, which is the subheading, and the introduction. It will also write the introduction section right here. And there are many other fields that I also wanted to generate, like this URL, then the summary, meta description, and the main sections within the article. There will be 3 sections, okay? So this is the first section, and the second section, and the third section. For each section, it will also need to include another field for the image. Here, what we need is an image prompt so that later we can use this prompt to generate the image, guys. Then the image name, the image caption, and the alternative text for the image. So, since there are 3 sections, each section will include all those necessary fields. Alright, and then the conclusion. Besides that, for the whole article, it will also need another image field. Then the prompt to generate the thumbnail image, the cover image for the entire article. For this image, it also needs fields like name, caption, and alternative text. In addition, there are also some extra components, which are the CTA URL, and company. Introducing the company and introducing the offer. So this is the blog planner node. Here, I added another node to check whether this AI, when it runs, returns the result, and whether it returns the result in the exact structure that I want. If it's okay, then it will proceed to run. Next, it will create a Drive folder based on the title of this article. Then, this step is also quite important because it will split out, meaning it will break it down into individual chapters. Each chapter will focus on a subtopic. For each subtopic, it will separate it out and combine it with the internal link. That means it will take the link from our website and merge it with the subtopic, putting it into a loop, with 3 loops for 3 subtopics. For each subtopic, it assigns it to a researcher to write, and this researcher then calls Tune Publicity AI, using that subtopic as research, to return the result. So here, since there are 3 subtopics, it returns 3 research results. Alright, for each research result, it then passes it on to the AI. Based on the research results from the previous step, it will write 3 chapters corresponding to the 3 subtopics. Here, the first subtopic, the second subtopic, and the third subtopic. So in this copywriting section, it's written entirely based on the research information from the researcher AI in the previous step, and only then does it write this chapter. It's not just making things up on its own. Alright, the second branch, after breaking it down, is the image section with this image prompt and the image name. Then a lot of image fields are fed into the node to generate the image. Once the image is created, it will save an original version to Drive, and another version will be processed. It will be scaled down, resized to optimize for the website. Then it uploads it to the website. Similarly, down here is the node for generating the feature image. Once created, after image is generated, uploads to Drive, then resizes. Oh right, steps with loops. I've also added a wait node. I think I mentioned it here. Normally, n8n will run continuously. However many items there are, it will process that many in a row. Here, for example, you can see there are 3 items here, corresponding to the 3 chapters, so it will run continuously. But if I add a wait node, like this, then for each chapter, after it finishes running, it will wait for a certain amount of time, which here I've set to 5 seconds. But in each case, I might increase this to about 5 seconds, or even set it to minutes, hours, or even days for it to write. This image generation part is the same. I'll add another wait node. That wait node, I've already explained the other steps, and they're very similar to the steps in the SEO flow. So that's exactly how it works. I also have a few more slides to show you, and these slides are also quite text heavy. They're about the unique features, the special features of this workflow. As I've already emphasized, it's the ability to do research or deep research that really sets it apart. That's the difference of this workflow. You just need to give it a topic, and it will go online to do research in real time to gather the latest information about that topic. Then it will break down the main topic into subtopics and conduct in-depth research on each to ensure comprehensive and up-to-date knowledge. So I'll switch over to the workflow, and then I'll talk while showing you some visuals so you don't get bored. So, the research part happens right at this first step. From the very beginning, as soon as you give it a topic, it will start researching immediately. As you can see here, it's actually an AI agent, and it has the ability to use a research tool. Here I'm using Publicity AI. It's a separate workflow, but for convenience, for demonstration, I've also copied that sub-workflow here, so you can see it. So right now I'm about to activate it. But basically, when the main workflow calls this research tool, these are the fields inside it. I'll open it up for you to see. So actually, here I also have a few variables. The model, I've set the default as Sona, which is the cheapest model, and the fastest one from Perfect City, but there are actually several models. Among them is the Sona model. Deep Research, which is the most powerful model and also the most expensive. This workflow has a lot of customization options. You can use them because it has parts. So I think if any of you are interested, you can buy it and study it on your own, because if I go through each part now, too many things. Oh right, speaking of activation, a few of you have run into issues with it and have messaged me about it. So, for this activation part, currently, I'm using Google Sheets. Every time I add a new row to the file, Google Sheets. So this is the Google Sheets file. Guys, it looks like this. It will have different columns, and every time you add a new row, it will trigger the workflow. And of course, you need to activate it so it can listen to the Google Sheet. But honestly, this activation using Google Sheets has quite a few limitations. It's just that this tool is really popular, so that's why I chose this activation method. Maybe I'll come up with another variation. Using something like Airtable or NocoDB, you'll have way more options. You just need to add a new row to the Google Sheet and it will trigger this workflow. But you need to note that you should remove this node, because the purpose of this node is to limit it to only fetch the very last post. I have this node because when I was building this workflow, my spreadsheet file had 5 rows. So when I tested it, it would pull all 5 rows, but I didn't want to run all 5 rows. I just wanted to run 1 row only, and the last row for testing purposes. But in the case where I'm running it live, then I will need to remove this node so that every time I add a new row, it will listen and trigger this workflow. That's one way. The second way is, I remember I also mentioned this in the previous video, that you can schedule daily, for instance, at 8 or 9 a.m. Every day, you might add an extra node, and you can add a new column. Spreadsheet file, like a date column, for example, so you'll have an additional column for the date. For example, how many articles you want to write in a day, then I'll just add each row in, and when I schedule it, it will check what today's date is. Then compare it with the value in the spreadsheet file. If today is exactly the day assigned in the spreadsheet, then it will only run that row. That's it. So for this activation part, there are many ways to do it. We can also think about it. Another way to trigger it is to create a form. Here, there's this n8n form, so I can use this form. I'll have a direct link to it. Then I fill in the fields in that form and push those fields into this setting node, and get the data from the form so that it runs afterwards. That's it, you get the idea. There are so many ways, so I think you guys should really try to tinker around a bit. I've already suggested a few ideas. Now, going back to this slide, I've also listed some other features, but they're pretty similar to the previous workflow, which is completely automated. This one is triggered via Google Sheets, and the input fields are also quite flexible. You can change a lot of things, like the topic, the category, the target audience, the number of words, the number of chapters, and so on. Then an advanced filtering loop writes each chapter and generates images for optimal results. Webhooks are added as needed to avoid limitations. On API call speed, content is automatically saved to Google Drive, including all text and images. Each is named according to its chapter, and the folder names are also based on the title of the article up to USD. Internal links are also added, internal linking, error handling, and there are many other big and small improvements. Okay, in the previous video, I didn't mention this part, but it seems like some of you were a bit confused after buying my template and then didn't know how to use it. So in this video, I'm also going to add a section about the requirements, okay? That is, to run this deep research workflow template, you'll need to have an OpenAI API, or something equivalent for generating text and images. Oh right, now that I mention it, I just remembered that in the previous SEO topic template, I used OpenRouter. At that time, I thought OpenRouter was really convenient because it has all the models that I can choose from in there. But later on, one of you messaged me, and that's when I realized that OpenRouter is actually a separate service. To use it, you have to buy a separate API. Actually, if you've already bought the OpenAI API, you can still use it through OpenRouter, but it's a bit complicated. Anyway, my point is that that node is OpenRouter, so it's not really familiar to everyone. Most people will know about the OpenAI API. There will be the OpenAI API, but as for OpenRouter, that's not certain. So in this template, I've also changed my mind. I'm not using OpenRouter anymore, and I'll set the default to all OpenAI models. I'll set everything to default to GPT-4o, because this is the model that I find to be the most stable, and especially, one requirement of these models is, in order to run this workflow, it returns results in JSON format, following a predefined structure. E.g., the JSON structure. It needs to have these fields. So after using many models, I found that GPT is very stable. It returns results exactly as I want. Secondly, you'll need a Perplexity AI API or something similar to do online research, to conduct research online, to do deep research. As for the Perplexity AI API specifically, I know a friend named n8n who is selling a package, Perfect City AI Pro, for 1 year a day. Very cheap price, just about the cost of a few bowls of pho. And the special thing about the Perfect City Pro package is that every month, you'll get $5 in credit to use for the Perfect City AI API. So if you calculate for a year, you'll have a total of 5 times 12, which is $60 in API credit. This $60 in credit is already worth more, several times the amount you spend to buy this top package, the 1-year City AI Pro package. As far as I know, Dung is still selling this 1-year Perfect City AI Pro package, so if any of you are interested, you can contact Dung to ask about buying it. I'll put the link to Dung's Facebook in the video description down below. When you contact Dung, you can also mention that you heard about it from me. Hopefully that way you'll get priority support. I don't know if Dung still has many left, but hopefully when you reach out, Dung will still be able to support you. I myself have also bought the 1-year Perfect City Pro package from Dung, and it's been working really well for me. I haven't had any issues at all, so if any of you are interested, you can get in touch with Dung. I'm sharing this because I found the information useful and I'm using it myself, so that's why I'm sharing it with you, not because I'm getting commission from Dung. So in my workflow, it's located in this research tool section. This is actually a sub-workflow, a child workflow. The main workflow will call this child workflow, so this is the child workflow. It has a few nodes like this. Just now I showed you guys the sub-upload part already. Here it is. I've copied it out here for convenience. For this explanation, so it has a few notes like this. So basically, the sub-workflow will receive a topic from the main workflow. Then it does research. It calls the public city API to do the research, and then it returns the research results. Workflow. From research results, push to next nodes. Regarding research, 2 places. First is the initial research, and second is after those subtopics are generated. They are sent to an agent we call the researcher. And this agent then continues to use the research tool to conduct research on each subtopic. Then it takes the research results and passes them on to a copywriter. This person, based on information research before writing content for subtopic, turning into chapter, with this method, ensures that the content produced is not just AI making everything up on its own, but it's entirely based on the information gathered from research, the latest information that has been studied. Then third, you'll need a website, specifically a WordPress site. Guys, just a heads up, if you have a website but it's not WordPress, then this workflow isn't for you, okay? Fourth, you'll need Google Sheets to trigger the workflow, or, like I just mentioned, I also suggested a few other ways to trigger it. You'll need Google Drive, so you can automatically back up your articles and images. I also have a separate section just for notes. Hear about terms of sale, and make sure to read the FAQ before buying. Regarding this, I've mentioned it, these templates, these n8n workflows, are for people who already have some basic knowledge of n8n and are able to go in and figure out and handle any issues that come up on their own. Next, about installation and optimization. All of these workflows, these templates, I've already tested them all. They run just fine. Right, actually in the demo section, I showed you they run very smoothly and return results, so I can guarantee that these workflows basically work as intended. There's no way they won't run. Now, about choosing the AI model, you should use GPT-4o because it's stable and its processing capability, especially exporting JSON files in the required structure, is really good. If you use another model and encounter errors, just switch back to the GPT-4o model. Okay, a note when testing. What I'm saying might be hard to understand. What I mean when testing, you should use the cheaper models, especially for the image generation part, to keep the file size low, or just use the more affordable models. First, I just check if the workflow is working or not. Once it's working, then I'll come back and optimize it. I customize. Input data needs accurate filling. For websites, use domain.cc format without http://. It doesn't have the SPTS at the beginning of the context window. GPT has a context window up to 128,000. So you'll need to optimize the prompt. And about the feedback and report section, I also have a form here with a link to it, and I'll also put this form in the video description. For those of you who buy this template, you can use this form to give feedback. Yeah, that's right. Actually, I also created this form from the previous video for the template for automatically generating content for SEO topics. There was someone who also sent me some feedback, but when I read it, I realized that I didn't include an email field in that form, so I had no way to get back in touch with that person. That was pretty silly. I totally forgot. So after that, I also fixed the form and added another field, which is, if you want me to get back to you, please leave your email to the person who left me that feedback. If you're watching this video, please get in touch with me. Send me an email so I can reply and get back to you. Sorry about that. This was my oversight because, I'm just starting to run the web shop and I'm doing everything myself. There's really a lot to do. Then I have to work on the web shop. I have to create products, make templates, write product descriptions. I have to upload products to the website. Basically, there are so many things that I can't remember everything and do all of them well. And all of this is something I need to improve on too, gradually, over time. Next, I have a few tips. For those of you who are pros, for those who want to make the most out of this workflow, here are 4 tips. The first is creating images. The second is research. The third is activating triggers. And the fourth is human interlude. If you want to read the text, you can. Pause the video here to read it. As for me, I'll go back to this workflow so I can explain it in a more lively and easy to understand way for you guys. Alright, first, regarding the image creation part, the default AI model, or generating images, is DALL-E from OpenAI, which I'm using here. However, to be honest, the results from this image generation model aren't that impressive. So I also suggest that you consider using the model called Flash 1.0 to get much better image quality. It's a lot better, really. AI image generation models are also a really interesting topic that I intend to cover, but my time and health are limited, so my video production speed is also kind of slow, but I'll try to make a plan to talk about this really interesting topic as well. Secondly, about research. Perplexity AI is the tool I've chosen for this workflow of mine, so I'll open up the sub-workflow. Right, here I have the tab, and now I'll open this field. So here, the model that Perplexity AI uses by default is Sona. It's the cheapest and fastest model. When I checked, I found that the final article's result was actually pretty good, because here, this Sona model is responsible for the research part, while for the writing part, I use OpenAI. But anyway, I use this Sona model to do research, and I think the results it returns are already quite good. If you want, you can also check with other models as well. So, what models are available? You can go to the Perfect City AI documentation, just search for it. Now, I'll go to This Talk section and then to the Guide section. Here, there's a supported models section. So these are the models that you can use as alternatives. It includes Sona Deep Research, Sona Reasoning Pro, Sona Reasoning, Sona Pro, Sona, and our 1776. This is the Deep 6 Reasoning, which is the version of Public City hosted in the US. Anyway, these are the models you can use. You can test to see which model gives the best results. All of these models have a context length of 128,000, except for this Sona Pro, which has a context length of up to 200,000, and the one I'm currently setting as default is just this Sona. So if you go back here, you can change this model. You can freely experiment with its other models, even the Sona Deep Research model, just like the name of this workflow, which is dedicated to deep research to see whether the results returned by different models actually give better results or not. Now, going back to this main workflow, next up is the activation part, and as I mentioned, activating with a new row on Google Sheets. It does have its limitations when you add a new row on Google Sheets. I've already complained many times that it's quite limited, and honestly, it's not very reliable either. Also, there are rate limits. With the Google Sheets API, I think if you set it to activate, you might run into an error where it keeps showing an error and doesn't fetch the latest row, so that's actually a limitation of the Google Sheets API. So you guys will also need to think carefully and consider how to set up those automatic triggers. For example, on a daily schedule at a specific time, or you could even set up this entire workflow inside a loop to process multiple rows at once. What I mean here is, for example, when you fetch from Firebase and it returns 3 or 4 rows, for instance, and you don't want to limit it to just the last row, then now you have to put the whole workflow into a loop. What I mean is, putting this entire workflow inside a loop. But how do you, for example, if there are 3 or 4 rows, it will run through this loop and process each row one by one. After processing one row, I need to add a wait node. I'll have it wait for about 5 minutes or even an hour. Then it will process the next row. That way, I won't have to deal with the issue of calling the API continuously. You know, when you call the API nonstop, you'll definitely get blocked. You'll hit the rate limit, and your workflow will get interrupted because it won't finish running. This image generation, it has some kind of rate limit, like within a minute or a few minutes or something, or within an hour. There's only so many times you can call the API. So when I put this whole workflow into a loop and process each row one by one, and after each time I process, I add a wait step, it solves the problem where if I have a lot of rows, I add a lot of rows, a lot of topics. Yeah, so that's my suggestion. Okay, and the last tip for the pros is human in the loop. I'll have a step where I can participate, where I can input, where I can intervene in this workflow. Meaning I'll have a step where this workflow sends a notification to me, sends the result. For example, after it finishes writing the article. Yeah, so the human interlude is a new feature that was just released recently by n8n. For example, if you click on the plus button here, you'll see something called human interlude right here. This means it can wait to get human approval before it continues with this workflow. These are the things that are already built in, integrated by default. You can send notifications via Discord, through Gmail, Microsoft Chat, via email, through Slack, Telegram, and WhatsApp. You can send messages to yourself when the final article is created. You don't want it to just publish automatically every time, but you want to read and review it first, and maybe make some edits. So after the article is written, and the draft is posted to WordPress, you can go in and read it to see if it's okay yet, and check if anything needs to be fixed. So this is an example of how you can use the human inbox, meaning instead of publishing the article right away, then organizing the content, and saving all the content into a file, you need to add a step to add a human, so that this person can read and do a final review to see if everything is okay. And if it's not okay, they'll point out exactly what's not right. So it can be sent back to the AI agent for it to make corrections. Then it rewrites and sends it back to the human again until the human agrees and approves. Only then will that article allow the workflow to move on to the next steps so that the final result returned is complete before saving that final version into the file, the DOC file on Google Drive. So I think this is a pretty practical example of how we can use human interlude. For those of you interested in this feature, if you're interested in this feature, the human interlude, then please leave a comment for me, okay? If a lot of people ask or message me, I'll also make a detailed video about how to use this feature. So, what's next? Finally, I have a few more bullet points here, just to share with those of you who watch my channel. First, after I finished this deep research template, I also made some improvements compared to the WordPress Pro for SEO version. I'll also bring some of these improvements from the deep research workflow to the SEO topic. Workflow automation. I'll try to release an update, version 2.1 for those of you who have purchased the n8n WordPress template, Block Automation Pro for SEO. In the next few days, I'll send out the key via email, so you guys keep an eye on your email, okay? Secondly, on my computer, I still have a lot of workflow automations. For example, social automation, automatic video creation, automated market research and competitor research, automatically scanning invoices into Google Sheets. I already have a lot of templates on my computer, but the thing is, I've been a bit busy, guys. As you can see, the speed at which I release videos is slow as a turtle. It takes me about 1 or 2 weeks just to put out a single video. Lately, I've been pretty busy with all sorts of things. Guys, I have to migrate the website, set up a new one. So I also have to handle things gradually, can't do everything at once. But first, I just wanted to share that with you guys. I'll try my best to finish up all these workflows and post them gradually in the coming time. If you're interested, please follow me and turn on the notification bell, so whenever I release a new video, you will know right away. Subscribe to the email newsletter. News will be sent out so you're in the loop. Thirdly, this might be interesting. I'm going to collaborate with some experts to optimize and upgrade the templates based on the experts' insights, to take the templates I create to a whole new level. For example, with the n8n WordPress block automation, or this ProFace CEO, for example, there have already been 2 experts who reached out to me. One is Vietnamese, and the other is a foreign expert, to propose a collaboration and improve this template to make it even more optimized for SEO. So I'm really excited, because when I get more insights from experts in a certain domain, then I'll compile all those insights into the workflow and the template, and I believe that the templates I create will become even more powerful, and they'll deliver even more impressive results than before. The 4th update is about the website, and it has 2 small points. The first point is that I've also set up a new server in Singapore and moved the website at n8n.cc to this new server in Singapore to speed up page loading times and serve customers in Vietnam better. Secondly, I also shared that, besides the Vietnamese website, I've also created a new website in English to serve the international market with payments in US dollars. So, the address of this English website is aiautomationpro.org, and the website looks like this. Here, you guys, actually, it's pretty much the same as my personal website. The only difference is that all the information is in English. Some of the information is a bit less, but some details might actually be updated faster because the sharing with all of you is that when I work on something, I do it in English first. That means everything related to research, then writing, product creation, making templates, writing product descriptions. All of these things I do in English first because I'm used to working in English. And honestly, working in English is easier and it gives better results. I translate English first, then into Vietnamese. That's the process. Works best for me using English. I finish the product. I write the product description. I post it on the English website first, and then after that, I switch to Vietnamese to post it again on that Vietnamese site for you guys, you know. So honestly, in terms of timing, the English website will have the products up faster than the Vietnamese website by a few days, even more if you count that. For Vietnamese customers, I also have to make a video, like the one you're watching now, which also takes extra time, and it also adds to the delay. As you can see, I actually finished this upload at the end of February, but only now, over a week later, do I finally have time to make the video. So my point here is, if you guys don't really care about having a video tutorial and you just want the template as soon as possible so you can tinker with it yourself and apply it to your own work, then you can check out the English website. But maybe one downside is that if you buy from there, the products are priced in US dollars, not Vietnamese dong, and there aren't any promotions either. So for Vietnamese customers, I also give more preference and have more information. There's more content and also more promotions too. And the last point is that this is also something I'm considering, which is maybe I will pilot a service to build AI automation modules for businesses. So my background up to now has been working in a B2B environment, working with businesses. So I see this as a field where I already have experience and understanding. If I do it, my goal will be to serve the target customer group of businesses who have a need to use AI to automate work and increase productivity, boost revenue, and during the pilot phase, I think I will focus on business customers. Of course, when we talk about businesses here, it's not like a building or something that's not human-shaped. I'm still working with people, and when I say businesses here, it could be a guy, a lady, an uncle or an aunt, still a person after all. But what I mean here is, my focus will be on working with businesses that have the need or desire to leverage this AI automation. To get in touch, you can go to my website and send a message through the contact form, or you can also email me. My email information is on the website or in the About section of my YouTube channel. Alright, so this is also a pretty long video, and I hope you also learned something from this video of mine. If you see this video, if it's useful, don't hesitate to give me a like and comment. Let me know below. If this is the video, the first thing you see of mine is that you remember, subscribe channel and turn on notification bell so you don't miss the videos. One's from me, okay? If you're still here watching up to this point, thank you so much. See you in the next video. Bye.